take a breath, sit back, relax, think about this. If somebody walked up to you on the street and said this to you, hey, I need you to go get me 50 gift cards, wouldn't you think that was a little suspicious?
Hello and welcome to Shelf Confidence, a podcast brought to you by the Pennsylvania Food Merchants Association that focuses on trends and innovations in the food and beverage industry. I'm John Zimmerman, your host, and today we're diving into the most critical of topics facing businesses today, cybersecurity. Joining us are Kevin Box, Senior Director of Business Development at CBIZ, and John Rostern, Vice President of Cybersecurity and DFIR. Cybersecurity is a thing that's always in the news. People are always talking about it. It's always a threat. So I'm really happy we can have this conversation. I figure we'll dive right in. So Kevin, your CBIZ technology works with a wide range of individuals, from healthcare to retail to financial services. What sets CBIZ apart in helping businesses navigate today's complex tech challenges?
That's a great question. I would say our domain knowledge, right? That's really important. That with our sector level expertise combined with our technical skills, that's really, really, really important. You know, we understand the business because we understand the sector that our clients are in. Like, for example, in the food and beverage sector, we have a whole team of specialists, right, in that sector that can help everyone from a bodega to food processing to beverages to large food manufacturers to grocery stores and everything. So the key there is we go in and we can build a relationship of trust because we really understand the business really well. And then we earn the right to help those businesses grow. I would say the other thing that really helps us is we really do take care of our clients. And something that's really, really important to me and also to John, because we've been in this business for a long time, is CBIZ is a really great place to work. It really is. I mean, it really absolutely is. I'm not just saying that, right? It's a great place to work. And it also, the thing I love most is that CBIZ really cares about our clients, and we also care about our employees. So it all works hand in hand. But having that expertise and that really domain knowledge really gives a competitive edge, because when we're speaking to our clients, they know that we're speaking their language.
But without the sector expertise, understanding people's business, it's really very hard to actually to help businesses, right, to achieve their goals. The other factor is that CBIZ offers a wide breadth of services, as Kevin said. So we can literally look at everything from implementing the software or implementing systems to deploying and managing them, to monitoring them and securing them. So we can literally help you from one end of the spectrum to the other. And there's very, very few organizations out there in the world that combine sector level expertise through all the other services that we offer in addition to technology, as well as the level of expertise that we provide through our technology division.
Very cool. So, obviously cybersecurity has been a top concern for businesses of all sizes. Why has CBIZ made it a priority to provide cybersecurity services, and how do you support clients in managing those cyber risks?
So cybersecurity risk is business risk, right? It is a key component of business risk. And these days it is becoming absolutely ubiquitous. It's prevalent across every industry sector that you look at. Cyber threat is there. And the reason is simply because all organizations have money, right? And that is, at the end of the day, cybercrime is crime, right? It's another way to extract financial benefit, financial gain out of the victims. And in the days of, the often misquoted Willie Sutton, I rob banks because the money is there. Well, all organizations have it, whether it's in the form of your payroll, the form of your ready cash for transactions. So that puts everybody on the radar, puts all of our clients on the radar. So helping clients deal with that aspect of risk has become absolutely critical to us.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you see it in the news all the time, a data breach here, a data breach there. I mean, even I get emails occasionally that are phishing emails, it is prolific everywhere. It's kind of wild how often you see this stuff. Mm-hmm. And you're very right. Cybercrime is still crime. People are trying to steal from companies. They're just trying to find creative ways to get in there and get access, right?
Right. So, and those phishing emails are getting better, right?
They're
getting better every day.
No, they're very convincing. And you have to really check sometimes on those email addresses, because sometimes they'll start looking like it, and then you look at it like, wait, there's extra characters in this situation here.
Or the really funny ones where you can substitute alternate character sets from, say, foreign languages. Like there's a Russian character in Cyrillic that looks just like an Arabic E. So if you substituted that for the E in, say, chase.com, you go to a totally different address but it looks to the human eye as if you're just going to chase.com.
That makes a ton of sense. I didn't even think about that. You're absolutely right. Wow. Okay.
And the
That's
scary
scary.
part, John, the scary part about this is they're not just going after big businesses anymore. They're going after all size businesses.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have, I have a friend who had a business, very small business, that was a graphic artist that you wouldn't even think he only had a couple of employees.
Sure.
Meanwhile, they got into his system, sat there for a couple of months, stole all his banking information, and stole over $100,000 from him. He would never have thought. He thought he had everything covered. So they're not just going after the big companies anymore. They're going after everybody.
No, it's true. I worked in a past life at a previous employer. Like I got one of those text messages and it was like, hey, can you, it was the CEO asking me, hey, can you get some the gift cards? And I'm like literally walking into the CEO's office being like, why are you asking me to get, I was like new. So I'm like, why are you asking me for gift cards? They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, did you not send me this text message? They're like, no. And so like literally this is happening in real time as I got the text, but we had like a laugh about it because like it's happening as I'm walking into the office. So it's kind of like wild, but it's like, had someone been less motivated, maybe a little slower, like they would have maybe done that. And it's just kind of wild that people fall victim to these things still, in 2025. You think we'd have a little bit more common sense on this? I guess not.
Lucky
Well,
you weren't afraid to talk to the CEO. Some people wouldn't even talk to the CEO and just do it.
Oh yeah, no, I was new. I was like, well, this is an opportunity to go say hello. Like I was walking into the main office, like her office was like in there, so I just kind of like poked my head in. But yeah, some people would just follow those orders.
One of the best security mechanisms is just slow down, take a breath, walk around the block. Why did he send me that email message that's so urgent? Why would my CEO ask me for gift cards? Why would he be asking me for that? Or
Yeah.
ask yourself, why am I getting this email? And what is the urgency, right? So they prey on the human sense of urgency. And a lot of times you can prevent a breach by just take a breath, sit back, relax, think about this. If somebody walked up to you on the street and said this to you, hey, I need you to go get me 50 gift cards, wouldn't you think that was a little suspicious? Right?
Yeah.
It's the classic Nigerian prince argument, right?
Yeah.
Of course, he has $10 million for you. But if you saw somebody in real life, use another means of communication. If it came to you via email, make a phone call. If it came to you via phone call, because deep fakes now using voice are very,
Yeah.
very real. Thank you as we sit here providing all this ammunition in terms of both images and voice for a potential attacker to use, but we'll leave that alone. Sorry to be a buzzkill. But they are becoming very, very real. So your boss calling you, I told my wife a long time ago, I said, if you ever see video of me or hear my voice and it's something that I shouldn't be doing, don't immediately assume that I've just gone totally off the rails, because the technology does exist. What used to require a movie studio, Lucas Films or whatever,
Yeah. Industrial
can
light
now be done on a computer using free software downloaded from the internet. The large enterprises have spent a lot of money to secure themselves at this point. But most small and medium-sized businesses really haven't done that. It's not inexpensive by any stretch of the imagination. And keeping up with technology is expensive and it's time consuming, and you're trying to run a business, right?
Yeah.
But what we see the morning after consistently, because one of the things that we do is we do incident response. We help clients recover, right, after a bad day. And one of the things that we can, there are several things that we consistently see. A lot of it, though, is that people are running old systems. They're running old hardware. They're running old firewalls. They're running old operating systems. These systems aren't patched. They may not be configured properly. They're not kept up to date. Well, there are published vulnerabilities out there. And they're available to the defenders as well as just as easily available to the attackers. Not using simple things like multi-factor authentication, right? You just relying on passwords, reusing passwords, Bitwarden, 1Password, Dashlane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pick your poison.
Yeah.
Can help you in looking at your passwords, generating complex passwords that you don't have to remember, right? We're now seeing the emergence of passkeys and other technologies that can help out. But the thing that we typically see missing, though, are the basic blocking and tackling, right? If people got to the 80% mark, the overall level of security. It's like social hygiene. It's like the way that New York City fought the cholera epidemic in the 1800s. It wasn't because taking on the individual cholera cases one case at a time. They cleaned up, they improved the sanitation in the streets. Guess what? Your cholera problem went away.
Yep.
If we, as a business world, improve our level of cyber hygiene, the level of threat across the board goes down. And in this environment, you need to have somebody who's watching your stuff 24/7. It's like having, it's like paying an alarm company and then they don't monitor, just installing the burglar alarm in your house and then not having a call center to call the police when the alarm goes off.
Or an
Right?
exterminator that doesn't come and refill the traps. Yeah.
Same thing.
Same,
Yes.
yeah. So,
Exactly.
so I imagine, no pun intended, but I imagine there's a real cat and mouse to this. Like, they learn, we learn, there's a dance. There's all this public information that is obviously being built on as we move forward. So kind of drilling a little deeper in that. So what are the most common, I mean, we've kind of touched on them a little bit, but I'd like to dig into this a little bit more. What are the most common cybersecurity threats that businesses face today?
So you have to look at it in terms of what's most attractive to an attacker, right?
Imagine money.
So right, it's money or information that I can monetize. So what information can I steal that has value on the black market, right? So any information, personally identifiable information, PII, shorthand slang for the business, that can be used to create a US bank account has value on the black market. Credit cards have value on the black market. Now, they fall into multiple categories. Is it a credit card that's been validated? What's the expiration date? Do you have the CVV codes? What other information do you have? This all changes the price point in the great bazaar of the dark web, that's out there. But here's another interesting fact. Do a dark web search. We perform for clients that we provide either managed IT services for or managed security services for, we do dark web searches. And we will look to find out what information about that client is available on the internet from a couple of perspectives. Well, what's already been stolen and is for sale to the highest bidder, number one. Number two, what information is out there that could be used to mount an attack, right? And so the aforementioned passwords. People love to reuse passwords, right? It's the old joke. The one dog looks at the other one and goes, be careful, whatever they name you is going to be their password for the rest of their lives, right?
I just want to interject here. When I was very young, we had AOL Online, and our parents had the password. My sister tried everything under the sun, and what we ended up figuring out, the password was our dog's name and my birthday. I'm the oldest. And we figured that out. And just the day we were able to now log into AOL without our parents, I'm dating myself, AOL. But I just to your point, yes, it is absolute. That is so true.
So to go a little bit down the nerd route here for a second. Any hints like that will help you figure out what a password is are called cribs.
Okay.
Right? They're hints, right? And so if you build your password around any information, what high school you went to, your high school mascot, your dog's name, your birthday, or anything else, anything that's available on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
That stuff can all be scooped up and used to build a brute force attack against you. And now I have all these shortcuts. Oh, I know all your kids' names. I know their birthdays. How many different ways can I array their birthdays? You might think you're clever. Chances are you're betting against a brute force attack, now AI driven, by the way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The AIs are out there scraping stuff. It's really this weird race, right? The AIs, the large language models, need to scoop up as much information as possible to make themselves more valuable. But at the same time, the more information they scoop up, they build in more inconsistencies, and it's just this constant game of back and forth that's being waged. But that stuff is all out there, and those tools are also easily available. So it's not just people writing better phishing emails and deep fakes and stuff like that, but it's just as simple as just massive correlation of information that we've all made publicly available.
But they're looking for easy prey. Like you would
Yeah.
think they're only going to go after the big ones, but they want to monetize this stuff, looking for people, like John said, who aren't prepared, who haven't been updating things, right? Updating their firewalls and keeping things up to date. And, so easy prey is what they're looking for. And they're out there.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I
The
mean,
other
they're,
thing interesting,
yeah,
I'm sorry, John. The other thing interesting is people don't think about security until something goes wrong,
yeah,
right? When something goes wrong, it's like you don't think about putting where your fire extinguisher is until the neighbor's house burns down. Like, oh my God, where's our fire extinguisher, right?
yeah.
So when people hear these horror stories, that's when they actually go out and say, oh, we better invest in this. But they don't think because they have to invest their money in their current business, right? What they're doing.
And it's become a bit of a meme in the business that, the cybersecurity budget prior to the breach, $5, day after the breach, $5 million, 1 week after the breach, back to $5. Because we as a species, we don't absorb and retain things. We tend to compartmentalize them and dismiss them and move them into the back.
Or
But
react.
meanwhile,
Yeah,
the threat environment, so you'll overreact and then you'll go right back to underreacting again.
very
And
human.
what's really required here is consistent application of effort. There's a lot of security and regulation at the point of sale these days, right? It's industry regulations. Something the payment card industry data security standard's been with us since 2005. It's
Yeah,
the amalgamation of the card brands, right? Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, soon to be, I think, Capital One is actually joining that group. The state of security at the point of sale has increased tremendously. So the amount of credit card data that merchants are holding has diminished tremendously. So this has changed the attack profile. It's
Yeah.
changed the benefit of an attacker in going after it and what they're going to have to attack, because you don't have the credit cards. You don't, I'll go really far back. You don't have the carbons anymore.
I was about to mention that. Yeah, like they would just run the
Right?
chunk thing. I remember that
Right,
back when I was a
the
kid.
old knuckle buster machines.
Yeah,
right?
I remember those. Yeah,
They don't exist anymore with good reason.
Yeah.
So now what do I go after? So now I go after, as I said before, the information you need to start a US bank account. Well, where is that information available? Well, let's go after hospitals. They have a lot of patient information. They have a lot of information, financial profiles, things
and
like
a lot of
that.
people accessing it. I imagine that creates all kinds of points of entry too. Yeah,
Exactly. So the overall scheme here is that, yes, a hospital needs to retain this data. They need to do patient care and things like that.
yeah,
But for you, a retail or a merchant, restaurateur, whatever you're doing, collect as little as you must. Keep it for as short a time as possible and reduce the likelihood or reduce your value as a target.
decrease your liability on that. Yeah, your risk assessment on that completely.
Right. Do you want to, in the old days of burglaries, do you want to burglarize the house that has a lot of jewelry and cash sitting in the safe? Or do you want to go after the guy who's, got $10 and a stack of change in a cup on the counter? You're going to go after the higher value target, because guess what? The prison sentence is still the same for breaking and entering.
Well, I want to find the guy with all the gold bullion buried in his side yard. That I think is the better target, but that's just me.
Exactly. So let's talk about insurance for a second, though.
Okay.
So first off, CBIZ, we have our own insurance brokerage. We sell cyber insurance.
Okay.
Right? That's not my area of the business. That's often some far other side of the business, but we do provide that service. But in general, when companies buy cyber insurance, they're generally uninformed, not because of the person selling them the insurance, but they are generally uninformed about exactly what they're trying to cover, what they're trying to protect themselves against. So we've used the term risk here at least 50 times so far in this conversation, right? Yeah. But risk is not a monolithic thing. Risk is comprised of several different elements: threat, vulnerability, likelihood, and impact, right? Mm-hmm. So we talk about threat, right? All the different threat actors are out there, all the tools that can be used against you. We talk about vulnerabilities, unpatched systems, and things like that. Then we look at the impact. So what's the impact on the business? Well, I could put you out of business. Well, what's the benefit, the other side of the impact to the attacker? Well, I get some money, I can get ransomware, I can steal identities and resell them on the dark web, etc. The likelihood of that occurring, though, is really interesting. So I could increase my likelihood by making myself a more attractive target, or if my defenses are lower, if I can't mitigate the threats that are out there as well, I make it more likely that a successful attack is going to happen. So why does this matter to insurance? Well, insurance deals with something called the single loss expectancy, right? So what is the dollar value of your business? And remember I said earlier, cyber risk is business risk. If you get ransomware, your business is shut down. We can leave the technical stuff on the side for a minute, but you're going to have to figure out how to run your business. Small company that I dealt with last year, it wasn't even their company that got ransomware. It was their supplier of the software that they use to do their route scheduling and order their materials. They were compromised. And while they were offline, their company was shut down. They didn't even have the option to pay for the ransomware because that was being dealt with by the other company, which of course lawyered up and, slow rolled the entire process. Meanwhile, these guys were out of business for 2 months.
Ouch.
They couldn't ship, they couldn't deliver to the customers, they couldn't bill, they couldn't do anything. So think about that, right? So what am I really insuring against? What does that single loss expectancy look like? Well, what you find is that a lot of companies, because you don't think about it in those terms, cyber insurers will be very quick to sell you, oh yeah, we typically will sell people a policy of this amount. One size does not fit all. It really needs to be tuned to your business. And what we find, unfortunately, is we find a lot of uncovered liability. We find at the end of the day that the insurance policy either had exclusions, it had provisions in there about certain things that we do. My favorite one, by the way, ever is that in order to make a cyber insurance claim based on a credit card breach, you had to be in compliance with the PCI data security standard. But if you got breached, by definition, you weren't in compliance.
It's a catch-22. Oh, they're sneaky. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was one of the ultimate catch-22 type of a claims that
love the
type
insurance
of provisions that was in there. There are a lot of provisions like that. So they expect you to maintain your IT systems, right? So if after the fact they go in, they find out that you're running a 17-year-old version of Windows Server somewhere, well, guess what? They're going to say, no, you clearly didn't, and I'm going to reduce the amount of claim now that you're eligible to receive. That is a critical piece of cyber insurance is part of the way that you manage and mitigate risk. It can't always just be the answer, well, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm insured. Because after you've been out of business for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, best case, or maybe as long as, we had a client that was out of business for 12 weeks.
That's rough.
They couldn't recover. They'd never tested their backups. They'd never tested their abilities. I tell clients all the time, don't just test the ability to recover one file. Test the ability to recover from what we refer to as bare metal. You have nothing. You're standing in a room, you have to make a phone call, you have to order new computers, and you're starting from scratch. What would you do? You've got to play that scenario. The classic example was the company that backed up their data into the cloud, and it was encrypted for storage. They stored the encryption keys. They didn't want to store it in the cloud, smart, but they had stored it on the server in their
they stored it somewhere, didn't they?
And their server, right. So they left it online. And when they got ransomware and they went to look for the encryption keys to go restore from the cloud, it was encrypted.
You'd think you keep that on a hard drive somewhere. You stick it in a safety deposit box, something, like
USB key hanging around your neck. It has to be offline.
Yeah, it's stressing me out just to think about it. It's like, yeah, they encrypted the thing, put it in a safe spot. It's like I have the backup key and I left it in a safe spot, then I forgot where the safe spot was.
The thing is, though, is it's a question of layered defenses.
Of course.
And then it's a question of making sure that as you built those layered defenses, that you didn't actually build a gotcha in.
Yeah.
Like the people leaving their backup keys, the encryption keys to cover the backup on the server.
Brilliant. I bet they felt silly after that.
So for years, people relied on antivirus or VPNs, right? You hear a lot of commercials out there for VPNs. Use whoever's VPN because it secures your transactions. We'll leave the face value of those statements alone for a minute. But the threat has evolved. I'm not attacking the transit anymore. I'm not attacking your data as it goes from me to you. I'm attacking your endpoint. I'm attacking your laptop or your server or whatever. And once I own that VPN, that nice secure tunnel between us, just becomes a really secure highway for me to attack now.
Because they're inside the highway, yeah.
Right? We call it the hacker superhighway at that point, right? So
Makes sense.
owning the endpoints is critical. Now we've evolved the train of thought around security, starting with the US government circa right after 9/11, Bush 43 administration. They
Sure.
evolved to the stance of saying, we need to always assume that we are compromised, that there's never a clean state that we can roll back to.
Makes
And
sense.
that led to a concept that's now known as zero trust. So companies still continue to persist in the thought that, well, we're all behind the firewall, everything is good. That's really not true anymore. The advanced way of thinking about security is you're no more secure sitting in your office than you are if you were sitting in Starbucks or an airport. You have to secure the endpoint, and therefore you have to have defense in depth. You have to have endpoint security. You have to have security in the cloud for the resources that you're accessing. You have to have identity and access management, so multi-factor authentication, controlling the users that have administrator privileges, who is able to access your system, when and from where are they able to access your system, right?
Yeah.
We talk about impossible travel scenarios where you log on to your system from a geolocation in New York and 10 minutes later, you're in Kuala Lumpur. Well, I'm sorry, Star Trek still is pretty far in the future. I didn't just beam you from New York to Kuala Lumpur.
Nope, Scotty
Right.
did not help with this one, no.
Right, but you're not going to catch that unless you're monitoring logs, unless
Yeah.
you have somebody monitoring your security 24/7. You're not going to catch geofencing, for example. Well, there's zero reason to allow anyone from Namibia to access your systems.
Yeah.
So don't allow people from Namibia.
Maybe unless you got a regional office there or something, maybe, you know, I mean.
Unless you did. Right, but chances
Unlikely.
are you don't, right?
Obviously, there is a day after the threat, which we've been spending a lot of time talking about the day and the day after. What about the day before? Like, obviously, you guys spend a lot of time preparing your clients to not be in this situation, I would assume, as well. I'd love to know a little bit more about, like, you know, what we're doing, what people can do to help prevent these bad days from happening in the first place.
So it's the reverse of what I said that we find on the day after. We'd just be playing them backwards, right?
Yep.
So do you have multi-factor authentication enabled on every system? Do you require multi-factor everywhere? There can't be any exceptions. There can't be any boss backdoors. There can't be simple passwords. There can't be simple passwords on your phone. Right? If you're going to use your phone to access corporate resources or business resources, you need to have mobile device management on the phone. You need to have pieces of the phone locked down. You have to enforce a higher level of security because that's now become another vector potentially for an attack. It's keeping your systems up to date. Don't run systems that are 17 years old, 22 years old. Yeah, these are actual scenarios that I see. Windows Server 2003 still running at a client in production and exposed to the internet.
Yeah, 22 years old, I think it's a lot of date. Yeah.
Exactly. But the stuff is still out there, and this is easy pickings. Old versions of Windows, unpatched versions of Windows, old firewalls, old switches, old routers, the meme jokes about the thing covered with dust If it's not broke, don't, if it's
Don't
not
unplug
broke,
it. Yeah.
don't change it, right? It said never unplug it. Exactly. Password managers. Use a password manager. Personally and professionally, use a password manager. Some of these are available for free. Some of these carry very, very high price tags, like $12 a year to use them, or
Manageable.
maybe up to like $35 to $50 a year for some of them. Use complex passwords. There's some math around lengths and things like that. But there's some easy charts out there that will tell you that any password less than about 11 characters in length is pretty trivial to brute force unless it's very, very complex these days. So what do? Build a complex password and make it ridiculously long. You'll never have to remember it.
So, like, what is the worst password you guys have ever seen? I can't believe that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is still a thing in
Well, there's a
2005.
list. There's a published list every year, and I do believe that password is still the winner, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. People with 1111 on their phones.
Admin login, yeah.
Admin login. I can't tell you. That's another popular password. The other thing is excessive privilege. Why do people need to log on? Even the IT staff. Why should they be logged in all the time with administrative privileges? There's no reason. Elevate your privileges when you need to be, and limit those privileges. Get out of the just in case logic. If you're the owner of the business and you're not the IT person, you having that privilege is more dangerous than the fact that you would ever use it.
That makes sense.
Leave that to the IT folks. Let them take care of it. And if you say, well, I can't trust them, then you've got another problem that you really should be dealing with.
That comes down to a leadership issue, leadership thing more than probably even a cybersecurity thing at that point, like knowing when to delegate, knowing how to trust your subordinates, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Which brings up another issue in terms of the owners of these companies, the high level executives of these companies. Sometimes they don't want to invest in security. It's very difficult for times for the CISO to be able to get the investment that they need to make it secure. Right. So that's a huge issue. Right. So they're not investing in penetration tests. They're not investing in vulnerability assessments. Right. They're not investing in the things that are common that they actually need, and staying on top of the new types of systems out there, not just antivirus. There's a whole new world of things that are popping up every single day, but it's very difficult to get the investment they need. John and I asked a question to an owner of a company, and we asked him, well, how's things going with your security? And he goes, I guess it's okay. I said, what's the guy doing? He's like, I don't know. I just pay him every month. So I said, ask him a list of these questions. And one of the questions we asked was, when's the last time you did a pen test? And the guy got back, who's the IT guy, said, what is a pen test? Which is insane. It's absolutely insane. So again, people won't invest into this until something goes wrong. And John nailed it. Like when it happens, everyone's frantically trying to invest to fix it. And then, a couple of weeks go by, like, oh, okay, let's get back to what we were doing.
But you would think that, like, with just some foreplanning, I mean, like, the amount of money you would spend to do the prevention would be orders of magnitude less than the damage of repairing and dealing with the lawsuit and the lost data and everything else. I would imagine that would be significantly cheaper, right?
Yes, but again, if they don't understand the impact of what it actually could be, it's kind of like growing up, like, oh, it's never going to happen to me, right? Like it's not going to ever happen to me. And then when it does, like, oh my God, now what do I do? Oh, I'll never let that ever happen again, right?
Maybe.
And then they start to invest. So you don't invest until something really bad happens. So the more they hear horror stories, the more they want to do something about it.
Another thing to consider is removing the information about you from the internet. There are a lot of commercial services now that have popped up that will constantly sweep the web, both the dark web and the exposed web, for information about you. The more information there is about you, we talked about AI generated attacks before and AI scooping it all up. Well, if the information's not out there, the AI can't scoop it up, can they?
No.
So again, data minimization applies not only to the data in your business, but applies to your personal data, your personal identity.
Yeah, data and security hygiene is a thing. Yeah.
You got it. So So all those 15 old email addresses that you had, you still have your AOL.com?
Not anymore, but yeah.
Right. Get rid of them, right?
Yeah.
Your old Hotmail addresses, your, the internet service provider from the house you lived in 16 years ago,
You don't need it.
right? Because you were at roadrunner.com in some town, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Get rid of it. Eradicate that.
We've touched on this already, that some of the smaller operators obviously have less IT, they're outsourcing, they're doing whatever. Any suggestions or thoughts for that tier of operator that may not have a dedicated IT team or a very small one?
So there's a lot of free guidance out there. The US government, there's an organization called CISA, the Center for Infrastructure Security, Cyber Security, Infrastructure Security Agency,
Acronyms.
CISA, right? Acronym soup.
Government loves their acronyms. Yeah.
There's the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, that publishes a lot of good work. There's the Center for Internet Security. Again, this information is all free. There's tons of free stuff that's out there. The challenge is applying it.
So having a partner that you can trust, that you know that really understands security, that's going out there every day and staying on top of what's really happening, what's going on, can really save a lot of time and a lot of money. Because sometimes you may need something, sometimes you may not. Sometimes they're looking at stuff that doesn't even make sense for them because they don't even have the basic stuff done while you're looking at this experience, this extra stuff. So having that could be really helpful for a big company and even the smaller companies. A trusted advisor that you can go to that earn the right to that trust, because it just doesn't happen, to be able to help you stay on top of what's really going on out there.
That sounds very much in your wheelhouse, gentlemen. Yes, I think that's basically what you guys do, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's the bailiwick. Very cool. So, I was going to ask, so like, if there was a cybersecurity horror movie, what would be the scariest scene, do you think? A ransomware attack, an employee clicking a phishing email, or maybe a CFO resetting their password for the 10th time on a Monday morning? What do you think?
Shutting off electricity. If electricity was shut off, this is just my opinion, right? John has a much more technical opinion. If electricity was shut off for just even 5 days, chaos would happen. Absolute chaos. You couldn't get to the bank. You couldn't get gas in your car.
I think a few movies have been made about this. Yeah.
That's it. If you shut off,
Well, Spain and Portugal.
Oh,
right now.
yeah, that just happened. Yeah.
That's it. Yep, exactly. Yeah, it just happened.
There's an interesting rule in the security world, both physical and cyber, that says sometimes you don't have to pull the trigger yourself. You just have to let the trigger get pulled.
Yes. That's an espionage concept as well. Yes.
It is definitely an NSA and all the MI6 and all the
Sure.
dark people that do nasty things in the middle of the night.
I was thinking Tom Clancy, but yeah.
Right. But sometimes as a business, allowing the trigger to be pulled is really the problem. So a lot of this is preventive, right? So hopefully never getting to the scary scene. But in my mind, the scariest scene would be going to the backups and finding out that either they're not there or the encryption key was stored on the server.
It's in the server that you, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh God.
Just that sinking feeling of it's gone and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, my last question of the day, gentlemen, what's the future look like? Obviously, we've talked about where we are today, but looking ahead, what are some of the cybersecurity threats and emerging problems that people should be aware of in the years to come?
No matter what you do in silicon, carbon people will always be the issue. So human behavior is never going to be a non-factor when it comes to security. You can inject as much AI and as much automation as possible, but human factors, social engineering as it's referred to, is always going to be a significant threat vector for actors. If you're familiar, Moore's Law, when it was published decades ago, said that every 18 months, things will become twice as fast, have twice as much capacity, and cost half as much. Well, we're way inside Moore's Law right now in terms of rate of change. Look how quickly the original OpenAI model was completely disrupted by DeepSeek because they thought about it differently. Well, now imagine what happens when you apply quantum computing to AI. When those two things converge, you have yet another turning point. the rate of change creates new opportunities, new vulnerabilities, new threats, new opportunities for criminality. Because at the end of the day, crime doesn't change. It's just a question of how it's committed.
Plus the rate of user acceptance. Right now, my granddaughter, right, is already online doing things already, right? She's 5 years old, right? So you see a whole generation of people now, dependent upon technology, that anytime something comes to them, they just accept it. They just say it's okay. Right. So I know people, and I asked you this question a couple of days ago, John, that are going out there and say, I found a way to be able to get free, free movies. I don't have to pay for these subscriptions anymore. So they're signing up for this thing that's a Chinese server that's now installed in their house, that's giving them all this information. Like, this is great. People just like suckers going in and saying, hey, this is great. They get on, not realizing that they also have their work laptop on that network. And then that information that they're trying to extract and steal to send back to China, because they accepted the fact that they want to get these movies for free, right? Or these series for free, are now opening up doors to be able to steal more and more information. Like you said, John, it's people. I think that's the biggest scary part. We're creating a society of people that are so dependent upon the intelligence to be outside of my head, right? Which is a security problem. I think it really is. Because you're giving too much dependence on something that you have no control over. I don't know. I just went off on a tangent there, but
no, that's a good point. I mean, all this at the end of the day, I mean, we're talking about tools, but all these tools are operated by people at the end.
yeah.
Right.
So, wow. Well, this has been a really great conversation, gentlemen. I really appreciate you taking the time. Big thanks to Kevin Bach and John Rostern of CBIZ for joining us today and sharing their insights on cybersecurity, risk management, people, business, and how we can improve ourselves and protect ourselves in the digital world. If you're interested in learning more, visit cbiz.com for resources, services, and expert guidance. But if you have a quick question, just go ahead and reach out to Kevin directly at kevin.bach@cbiz.com. Thank you for tuning in to Shelf Confidence. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Until next time, I'm John Zimmerman, and this is Shelf Confidence.